Hello, welcome to my video on how to play a violin. This video is made for very beginning students who maybe just got their instrument, maybe you've had a couple of lessons and you just need to brush up on the basics, or maybe you've even been playing a while and have developed a couple of bad habits and just need a reminder on how to play your instrument, how to hold your bow, how to hold your instrument, that kind of thing. This video is for you. I'm going to show you the very basics of your instrument right now. If you decide not to follow any of these instructions right now, it will mess you up later on down the road. Right now, as a beginner, playing with your wrist up like that, it may feel more comfortable, it may sound almost the same, but eventually there are going to be things in your playing career that you're going to have to do that you won't be able to do with those bad habits or holding the bow like this. Certain things will catch up with you later on down the road. So right now you're just beginning, you might as well start right off the bat with proper habits and perfect posture, perfect everything. Okay? Step number one, if you're sitting down, always sit with a straight back. This is for any instrument in the world. I don't know of a single instrument where you can play slouched back. Okay? Always sit up straight. For me, I teach my students to sit halfway forward on their chair. That way the backrest is not right behind them, making it easy for them to go, ah. Okay, so that's my recommendation, but you can ask your teacher what's best for you. Okay? First of all, you open up your case, you pull out your bow. Step one. The first thing you need to do is check and see if it's rosin. To do that, you also have to tighten your bow. You go down here, this is called the frog of the bow, this whole little piece right here. And right now you can tell that the bow is very loose. The bow hairs are almost touching the stick of the bow. So I need to tighten that. I'm going to take this little piece on the end here and turn it clockwise. You turn it the direction a clock goes, okay? I'm only going to turn it a few times. But as I turn it, I watch my bow, and I'll notice, oh, the bow hairs are separating now. My rule of thumb is most bows, when they're just about straight, not perfectly straight, that is probably too tight, but when they have a bit of a curve and maybe there's like a thumbnail's distance between, that's probably pretty close. How tight your bow is actually a personal preference, but you can ask your teacher about that if you're not sure. Generally speaking though, it'll have a little bit of a curve left in it for most bows, and a slight separation of about ½ an inch or so within the bow. So my bow is now tightened. The next thing to do is I can check to see if it needs rosin or not. You don't necessarily have to rosin your bow every single time. For me, I take the back of my thumbnail, I flick it across the very bottom of the bow right here, and I look for a little puff of like smoky stuff. That's actually rosin powder just coming off the bow. If I can see that little puff, it's probably rosined well enough. If I see nothing, I decide, it might be time to rosin my bow. Maybe it's been a while. So I take my rosin, take it out of the case if it has one. The thing you want to be sure about with your bow is never ever touch the bow hairs. The bow hairs, most of them are made from actual horsehair, and your body always has oil on it. That's where fingerprints come from. If you touch the bow hair, then that's going to be a spot on the bow where the rosin will not stick as well anymore. And when that happens, if you don't have rosin, you can pull the bow across the violin all you want, it's not going to make much of a sound. So, to rosin the bow, I take the rosin, I place it on the bow. Again, I try not to touch it with my fingers. I try to make sure that this is right about in the middle of the rosin. And I simply pull up and down the bow. I move the bow up and down, or I move the rosin up and down the bow, either way. You do it usually about 1/3 of a bow at a time. So right now I'm doing the bottom third of the bow. And then I move to the middle third of the bow. Move to the tip of the bow, top third of the bow. And then at the very end, just a few swipes up and down the full bow will do it. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to rosin unless it's a brand new bow, then it will take quite a while. Now I flick it again, and we see, oh, little puffs of rosin smoke coming off. My bow has plenty of rosin now. The bow hold. This is very important. If you don't have a proper bow hold, lots of things are later on down the road, maybe not as a beginner, but later on down the road, lots of things are going to be affected by your bow hold. It's very critical that you have a good bow hold. So, the proper bow hold is centered around your thumb and middle finger. You want them to make just about a circle. Not necessarily a whole complete circle. Your fingers might overlap a little bit, but it's basically a circle. That's kind of the fulcrum of everything on your bow, is your thumb and middle finger. So your thumb will go right about here, kind of between this area here, right in there. Try not to poke it through. You don't want it sticking out all the way through the bow. That's just an area to hold it. For me, I rest it right up about here on like the top part of this little piece here, of the frog. You then relaxingly put your fingers on the bow. Your middle finger needs to be lined up with your thumb. See, there's my thumb there. My middle finger will line up with my thumb. It's not going to be back here or up here. My ring finger will usually land about where this little dot is on the bow. Your pinky will quite often rest on top of the bow. That sometimes helps hold the bow up. And finally, your first finger will be just at the end here. Now we need to do what you call pronating. To pronate means to rotate your fingers like this. So you kind of slant. You will never hold your bow like this. And here's why. When you pronate, you slant your fingers, again, rotating on your thumb and middle finger. You slant. Now, that gives my pinky an opportunity to be at the top to hold the bow. This finger is what's critical in pronating, because now I have pressure. As I go towards the tip of the bow and you're playing, you need to apply more pressure. With my finger right here, I can put lots of pressure on the bow. You can see it bending there. So, without pronating, I can't really put any pressure on the bow. So, pronating is very important. You go like that, and your bow hold. You can practice this at school, you can practice it at home. Sometimes people practice by even just picking up a pencil. And they want to pick up their pencil and make it, oh, there we go. Okay, because you're basically just on a little stick here. Okay, there's our bow hold. Now that we have a proper bow hold and our bow is rosined, ready to go, I'm going to use my instrument. This is the violin. Okay, your violin will go on your shoulder, and this is called the chin rest, although you don't really put your chin on it. It's not really your chin, because you don't want it straight out in front of you. It's more the side of your jaw that is being placed on the chin rest, and you're holding it up here. You'll notice, oh, Mr. Azimuth, you don't have a shoulder pad. You don't necessarily have to use a shoulder pad. It depends kind of on the length of your neck. Some people with longer necks need a shoulder pad. Some people with shorter necks don't use a shoulder pad. One of the key considerations is just if you're going like this to hold your violin up, then you probably need a shoulder rest. Okay? For me, my shoulder is fairly relaxed, and I can place it here, and I can hold it up fairly comfortably. So I don't tend not to use a shoulder rest. Sometimes I will put maybe a small sponge type object in with just secured with a rubber band, or you can buy many different types of shoulder pads and shoulder rests out there. Okay? To hold your violin, the first thing you want to do is make sure you're holding it in the right position. Again, you don't want it straight out in front of you, but you also don't want it straight out from you this direction. You want it kind of about 45 degrees, somewhere in here. It's different for every person. It depends on the shape of your bones and your just various bone structures in your body. So it'll be slightly. Some people might be a little further out, a little further back. Okay, for me it winds up, but it'll be somewhere in like the 45-degree area. It's not going to be straight out, not going to be straight in front either. Okay, place it like this. A good way to practice placing is simply hold the violin here. Forget about your fingers for just now. Hold it right around here. Place it. Put it back down. This is rest position when you put it on your left leg. Back up. Just practice that a few times. Getting it in the right position. Okay? Once you have it in the right position and it's comfortably on your shoulder, you should, again, be able to pretty much hold it up without a whole lot of effort. Then you're going to place your hand on the violin. Couple of things to think about with your hand on the violin. Your thumb will never ever be poking out above the violin. If it's poking up here, you're not going to be able to play very well. You won't be able to reach the G string, some of the lower strings and notes. So you put your thumb somewhere in this area here. Hard to see with that camera. Somewhere in this area here. There we go. it'll be right around in this area. Okay, so again, not poking up. It's not going to be right at the very bottom, because that's kind of hard to hold. But just right in here. The main thing you need to remember is your hand is going to make a circle. Some teachers call this like a mouse hole. Okay, so your thumb is going right up here near the side. Your fingers will just simply curve and kind of rest on the strings. And as you can see, I have a nice little hole that you can see right through. Just like that. This is not a natural position, so this will take some practice. Even at school, you can practice just going just like that. Okay? Now, one of the other things you'll notice is your wrist. One of the easiest bad habits to fall into is to have your wrist go and just cave in and kind of hold the instrument up with your wrist. The problem with that is now, especially my fourth finger, my pinky and stuff, it's really hard to reach the notes, and it's just causing all kinds of problems. You don't want your wrist out. You don't want it caved in like this. So you want it just about roughly just continuing on with your arm, about that position. So it's not going to be tipped one way or the other necessarily. It'll be roughly about where your arm would just lined up right with your arm. Okay? If you're having to do this or this, it's quite possible your violin may be the wrong size. You maybe you have a half size and you should have 3/4. Maybe you have a full size and you should have a 3/4 or a half. Okay, so you might want to check that with your teacher. So, resting your fingers comfortably and your thumb in the back. The other thing, make sure your thumb does not cave in. I don't know of any instruments on earth that I've ever encountered that you play with a caved in thumb. Almost all of them, just the contrary. They say, make sure your fingers are all curved, no flat fingers. Okay, so curve your thumb, place it, boom. Now, we're just about ready to play. We get our bow, check our bow hold. Again, never touch the hairs. Notice if I have to hold it on both ends, I'm holding it from the tip of the bow. And then you take your finger, your thumb will go right here near this little open part of the frog. Middle finger down at the bottom, and pronate. Now we're ready to play. Okay, get my hand in proper position. As you play the instrument, you want to keep the bow between the bridge and the fingerboard, the black part here. The bridge and the fingerboard is where your bow should be. It should not really be going up here on the fingerboard. It should never pass the bridge. Then it makes really weird sounds, okay? So you want it between, right in this area, in this little like 2-inch or so area. As you pull the bow, try to keep the bow perpendicular to the instrument. That means straight up and down. Try not to let it go this direction or this direction, no matter where you are. The way to keep that from happening is make sure you're moving from your elbow. Don't move your whole arm like this. You'll notice as I move my whole arm, oh, it gets really slanted on the bow. Oh my goodness. So you want to keep this top part of your arm, you want to keep straight and just move right here where your elbow is. And as you do that, you'll notice very good. You keep it nice and perpendicular at almost all times. Now, the final thing to do, your homework, you might say, the first thing to do is, again, make sure you're not caved in. Good bow hold. Try playing one string. The first thing you should do is get used to playing just a single string at a time. Can you play just the G string? Can you play just the D string? And use a full bow from the frog to the tip as you go. Just the A. Oops. And just the E. Okay? Try playing those. And full bow, back and forth. Play it numerous times, over and over. Concert rest position is, again, on your left leg here. Bow just kind of sits on your right leg. When you're done, we've finished playing our instrument. A couple of things need to happen. First of all, if you had a bunch of rosin on your bow, or if you had any rosin at all, there's now rosin built up right on the strings, and also some of the rosin dust has fallen right down here. You can actually, probably can't see that, but there is rosin dust right down here. To keep your instrument in like new condition, in great condition, take a cloth. It could even be a paper towel or something, but preferably a cloth of some type. Just lightly slip your finger in here. It comes off very easily. It's almost like pollen, like little powder. And a quick wipe over the strings. If you accidentally played up onto the fingerboard, you'll see some up there, and just carefully dab it right in there. Don't ever use water. Your violin is made out of wood. Water and wood don't really like each other very well. And never use a chemical of any kind to clean it. Okay, if it gets rosin buildup or anything, take it to a music store and have somebody repair it there or clean it there. Okay, because they have special tools, special chemicals for that kind of thing, so that it doesn't take. This is just like a varnished table. It's made of wood. It's got varnish on it. Using even alcohol or something will just strip off all the varnish, and your instrument will not quite be the same anymore. Okay, we've cleaned our violin. We pop it in the case. Now, the most often forgotten thing when putting your instrument away is loosening the bow. You have to loosen the bow when you put it away, or bad things will happen to your bow. So, again, I hold it here, I turn it counterclockwise now, the opposite direction that a clock would go, counterclockwise. My rule of thumb is I loosen it until I see a few bow hairs just start hanging down pretty loosely there. Oops. And then I tighten it maybe just like one tiny little, half turn or so, just so those bow hairs aren't hanging down and get snagged on part of the violin. Let me show you really quickly what happens if you don't loosen your bow. This bow I found in a violin case, and you can tell it's fully loosened right now. That's really, really loose. Well, but look at the stick. You'll notice the stick is not like this one. Mine has a nice curve in it. This one's pretty much straight already. So as I tighten it, watch this. This is why not to leave your bow tightened in its case. Leaving it once or twice isn't going to probably do this to it, but this person obviously did it probably for like a whole year. They just left it tightened. And now you can tell, wow, the bow is actually curving outward instead of straight or even an inward curve. It's completely curving outward. Okay, not what you want to happen in a bow. So there we go. Loosen your bow, pop it in its case, and you're done. If you need a quick review, check on the link right down below, and there's a PDF of just a quick step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, quick reminder of what I just went through in this video. And each day before you start, you should check out that list and say, am I holding my wrist properly? Am I holding the bow correctly? Have I pronated? Am I pulling the bow perpendicular using my elbow rather than sawing it with my arm? Okay. Again, if you have any questions or if you have a teacher that tells you something differently, follow your teacher. Okay. There are a few things where there are slight preferences, but generally speaking, most of what I've shown you is a you need to do it this way. Okay. But any questions, you may ask your teacher. Have a wonderful day. Bye now.